Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us today in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. So so this is a video call. We usually do audio, and from time to time we do videos. So I hope you enjoy the experience as well. And for today we have Judith Corvin-Blackburn with us on the show. Really love her message and the work that she does. I've been reading her book, Activating Your 5D Frequency, and it's really inspiring. It really shows us the different planes or dimensions that we are living in, not just as human, but like from a larger perspective, and like how like each dimension, like what it brings to us, and like the abilities or the things that we can create or get inspired from those different dimensions. And it's really powerful. Also today we will be talking about activating your 5D frequency. And also in the second part, we will have a Q&A where you can ask your questions. So for that, if you are using the Zoom app, you can raise your hand there, or you can type in your question on the chat. And if you are watching, there is also the video is broadcasted on YouTube, and the video is embedded in the website on the webcast page, which is yourdivineuniqueness.com/live. And there below it, there is the question box where you can also type in your questions. And wonderful. So yeah, before we start, I will share with you a little bit about Judith, and then we can start the discussion. So Judith Corvin-Blackburn is an award-winning author, internationally known teacher, transpersonal psychotherapist, and shamanic minister, who has been inspiring people to step into joy, purpose, and inner authority for over 45 years. Her passion has been to guide and empower individuals to heal their wounds and reclaim their true soul nature, so that collectively we can transform planet Earth into the loving, peaceful, creative place it is meant to be. And she is the author of 3 books: Activating Your 5D Frequency, a guidebook to the journey into higher dimensions. The second book is Empowering the Spirit, a process to activate your soul potential. And the third book is Journey to Wholeness, a guide to inner healing. And also she offers online and Zoom classes to empower one's spirit and to activate our higher frequency potential, our higher frequency healing, sorry. So so with that, Judith, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Monsef. I'm very happy to be here. And I love we can do this across the world. I get to see it in my plays.
Wonderful. So it's really an exciting subject today about the 5D frequency. And before we start, maybe I would love if you can tell us more about your work, maybe if you want to share more details other than the bio I shared.
Sure. Let's see where to start. I didn't expect that, but my background is as a psychotherapist, although even when I began to do psychotherapy back in the 70s, I incorporated a spiritual dimension into it, so that what I call the psychotherapy I do is transpersonal, because it incorporates the soul. And then, of course, I have this vision, which is why I get out and teach. And the vision, which probably has been with me many lifetimes, but in this lifetime, really since I was a teenager, was that we could really create a beautiful planet here, where people were treated lovingly and fairly, where we didn't have poverty, we didn't have wars, we didn't have well, let's talk about what we will have, which is the idea of harmony and peacefulness. And this was way before I had an understanding that we are really multidimensional beings, and that as we begin to access that, and especially right now, we're in this process of, some people call it ascension, which is a good word, but we are navigating from a denser 3D frequency that, from my point of view, humanity's been stuck in for several millenniums. Not originally. I do believe there were societies here on this planet that were operating at a higher frequency, and that's genetically encoded. And it occurred to me at one point when I was teaching a multidimensional workshop some years ago that, that's the story of the biblical fall. It was actually a dimensional descent. But then patriarchy blamed Eve, so we'll throw that part out. But that, this is embedded too in our, if you want to call it folklore, or in our symbolism that certainly in the West is well accepted, and I believe this was global. So. Yeah. At this point in time, from my perspective and where my work is really moving, is that, or has moved to, I should say, is that we are activating these light codes, as they're often called, these strands of DNA that, and it always cracks me up when I say this, scientists for years called it junk because they didn't know what it did. Yeah. So, but in fact, it holds a multitude of gifts. And more people are noticing they're becoming more empathic. Mm-hmm. They're becoming more intuitive. They're tuned in on very different ways, not just to other humans, but to animals, to plants, to what we look at as a non-sentient world, even though everything is sentient in its own way. So if that answers your question. Long way around.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing about that. Okay, I'm here, Joe. So yeah, I've been reading your work, and really I found it really inspiring because it really gives so much explanation and clarity about the different dimensions that we are living in. Because like we hear a lot about mainly 3D, 4D, 5D, and even though even for 4D in your book, you go even more in details, which is really interesting. So I would love if you can maybe tell us maybe general idea about these different dimensions.
I will do that, Montef. What I realized is in answering your last question, I left a piece to tie together out, because one of the things that I do in my work, which I think is part of my unique contribution, because I've been a therapist for so long, I know how the psyche works. So this is about helping people navigate through this dimensional shift. And I wanted to get that in because I think it's a really important piece. So there are many different perspectives on multidimensionality. The perspective that I use, I actually got from Barbara Hand Clow, and she wrote many wonderful books, but her book, Alchemy of Nine Dimensions, really goes through, the difference. First of all, that we have access to these as humans, the ninth dimension being galactic center, the first dimension being the crystal iron core of the earth. And she does a wonderful job of connecting it with physics, which I don't do, although in reading it, I understood it. This is actually a very ancient system. I found a very tiny footnote in her book about it coming from the nine-dimensional mystery school, was actually taught by Plato, and it had originated in Egypt. Now, I really think it originated in Atlantis and was probably brought to Egypt first, but this is a very ancient school, is what I want to say, and an ancient theory. The other lens that people use is sacred geometry, which is also a very valid lens. But I love the 9D theory for a multitude of reasons, but one, because I think it's very accessible and it gives us this sort of elegant theory of these different parts of ourselves. And as you know, in reading the book, the image that came to me was that of nesting dolls, that in our 3D body, we're holding the first and second dimension nesting dolls, as Russian nesting dolls inside of us. And then we have these dimensional expansions up until 9D. I know people are saying they're accessing higher dimensions than that. That may well be true, but it's not the body of my work. I feel like we're doing really well just working with 5D right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 4D is very complex. Because people are always like, well, 3D to 5D, where's 4D? Partly, I really, and I may be having actually my next book on this. I feel that we're actually 3D/4D humans, so that we're often accessing the fourth dimension in our daily lives without knowing what it is or calling it that. It's an emotional dimension. It's not a physical per se. So we access it through our emotional body. One of my, and I don't know how far you've gotten in the book, but I repeat this a lot because it's kind of one of my rants, is that we have to heal our emotional field in order to really access these higher dimensional codes. Otherwise, we're out of alignment. And while that's not to say people aren't getting downloads or insights from higher dimensions, there's a block that occurs. And if we want to really be able to step fully into this fifth dimensional, into these fifth dimensional codes and into this fifth dimensional reality, we need to learn how to navigate through 4D, which includes healing and being in tune with the emotional body. Mm-hmm. So 4D, I think that in order to really do it justice, it's probably better for people to read about it, or the book's also in audio. People can listen to it. But I think the primary piece is that this is a part of ourselves that tends to hold archetypes and drama. Okay. And I mean, our world is full of rather insane drama right now. Probably, at least it's broadcast in a way that we can see how intensely insane it is. And to really navigate through is to get to a point where we can hold a field of loving neutrality. And we don't get caught in any of those dramas. And when we do that, the fifth dimensional frequency essentially opens up, just reflexively or automatically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned that's like being in this state of neutrality, because it starts from within, because many times like we see the negative and positive, like those aspects as separate. And you also mentioned that's on 4D, it's more about having a bigger perspective about those and creating from a space where we are embracing both of them, not just trying to be in the positive side.
Yes, thank you. That answered it really well. And that means, as we get bigger, really, we become a bigger container to hold the light and the dark. It also means looking at our personal shadow and our collective shadow, and to be able to lovingly neutralize it, so it no longer does harm, whether to ourselves or to the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And how to say, like, also from my own experience, like when we go through that, it's a journey, it's a process, it takes time. But the more we embrace all our part of ourselves, like we don't need to make some effort to love others or accept them. It just a natural result that happens. It just happens on itself. Yes. So it's more like for me, if how to say, maybe if we see ourselves judging someone else, it means like we just need to come back to our inner self and love ourselves even more.
Absolutely. It's an inside job. And that's sort of a paradox for people, right? Yeah. Because if we're trying to shift the world, to understand the way we do it is to shift ourselves. and to go into that self-love, because the 5D qualities, the primary qualities of the fifth dimension are unconditional love, which includes love of self. And that in and of itself is a journey. It's not what we're programmed for. And then unity consciousness, to understand we're interconnected with everything. Everything is a part of us. We're a part of everything. It's really holographic. And for people that understand that piece, that we're tiny specks in this giant hologram, but we also contain the whole hologram. And then if we shift it within, it also shifts the bigger hologram. So,
Absolutely. Wonderful.
And then, and the third characteristic, I'm sorry, is unbridled creativity. And I get very excited when I speak it that way, because what I really believe is if we will raise our consciousness quickly enough, if we will raise our frequency quickly enough, we can shift this climate disaster. We can shift the damage, really, that's been done in 3D rather quickly. I believe there are beautiful beings right now on the planet that know how to do it. We just don't have the collective will yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the experiences that we are going through, it's like telling us, it's inviting us to learn about that. It's like more maybe it looks like very challenging, but it's more an opportunity for us to grow even more, and also to connect with each other from that space of unity and acceptance.
Absolutely. And so, it sounds really simple. Right?
Yeah.
But we have been so programmed not to be there. So the challenge really is to move through all of that old programming as best we can.
Yeah. And also, because like we hear a lot about 5D, living from 5D, but also we hear that our body is also ascending to that frequency. And I would love if you can tell us more about that. Like, is it something that we will, at some point, we will notice physically, or it's more about energetic experience?
Well, that's, I'll tell you what I think. Hopefully we'll find out more as we go along. I think it's both. It's certainly energetic, all right, because everything's energy. So if you can feel your cells, and if we have time for that activation, that's part of what I'm going to do today, is help people feel when our cells are speeded up, they become more spacious. And while we don't get bigger on the physical, we get different. We have a different sense of physicality. And I think we're very much in the early stages. We don't, I don't know, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, if hopefully humans are still on the planet and we've reclaimed and done nice balancing things with it. We'll know a lot more. Okay.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I do think it feels different. I think you can feel it differently. And I think that we become more of our light body. So, and the yogic masters of the East, that's many where they are. Their cells are filled with more light. And it comes to me that really, in a way, that's the definition of enlightenment. It's operating at that higher frequency and being much more of our light body. So will that look different? I don't know. I think it'll be I actually think it's a natural shift. You can see when people are glowing, as an example.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. So also it's about having the experience like from the heart, not from the mind, because many times we try to maybe explain it from the mind, or maybe have this understanding. It's the nature of our mind, but it's more about also experiencing from the heart.
Yes, and that's key. Okay, because that is the fifth dimensional love, is we're no longer led with our minds. We use our minds. I mean, they're a good resource, but they're not in the heart is the leader. And then you use the mind to figure out how to go where the heart's going. Right?
Absolutely. And yeah, I would love if maybe you give us maybe example about how our life will be like when we embody that 5D frequency, for example, relationships, or how we will create things like things that we love in general.
One of the things I really love to do, Monsef, and at the end of the book, by the way, it really gives images of what a 5D world would look like. And it's very much, your show, your divine uniqueness, right? Mm-hmm. When we're tapping into that, and everybody has a little different piece, but it's operating in kind of in unison or in harmony together as a creative force. So, and again, I think that there are going to be many stages. So I can't tell you exactly the final one, although I can tell you that in meditation, I've seen, I believe in very ancient Egypt before the pharaohs, that they were operating as a high 5D society. And what has come to me in vision around that, one, the people are almost, they're not quite walking on the ground. They're kind of slightly levitated. Mm-hmm. And there's very much a flow. Everything is in flow because it's all from the inside out. We're not trying to impose what we should do on ourselves. We're operating out of love, so we're going to be out, not doing harm. But there's like this natural flow. We might ultimately throw clocks away because we're in tune with the idea of, oh, I'm being called right now, one, telepathically, okay, and we can feel it, that, oh, there's a meeting of a group that's going to be working on this or that, whatever the interest is. I see it very colorful, a lot of art being a very important piece, and art in ways that we maybe have never seen or experienced before. And with art, of course, I mean music, all of the arts, dance, expression, because that's all part of the creative expression. It's going to be joyful and abundant. Okay, where the challenge, and I wrote about this in the book, the challenge would be who can design perhaps what we need to grow food in a way that a very small amount can provide delicious nutrition for large people, for large numbers of people. Okay, so we'll be still, I believe we'll still have, if you want to call them challenges, but creative challenges of, okay, how can we do this? And then we'll understand we're connected to a much larger universe. It's not just our planet. There are star systems and civilizations everywhere, and we'll be educating each other, perhaps. Right. So I see that. I see very vibrant, thriving children and animals, and everybody being able to express exactly who they are without fear of judgment, that differences are going to be understood as weaving this beautiful tapestry, as opposed to being somehow threatening. So, that's the tip of the iceberg. But...
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. I love that. And I love that you mentioned about the challenges, because like what I understood is like right now, we experience challenges as difficult because of the emotional traumas, the fear, the guilt, and all those emotions that are not processed yet. This is what makes the experience difficult. So So I'd love if you can tell us more about that and how these
Yes.
emotions affect the ascension.
Well, and I love the way you said that, actually, because what happens, there's another piece that happens in this emotional trauma, which is we form belief systems. And usually we form them about ourselves, that somehow we're not enough, somehow there's something wrong with us. So that when we've gone through wounding, and I believe that we come in not just with wounding in this lifetime, but many lifetimes of living in the world that's been out of balance. So many times the trauma gets replicated in some way so that it can heal. But we're carrying beliefs where we're putting ourselves down a lot. And what happens when humans do that is and I'm making it simple, but in a way it is simple. It's one of two things. Either I get myself so depressed and I can't, I can't function very well, or I project it all on somebody else. I can't deal with how I feel about myself, so I'll project it on you, or a group, or a country, or a religion. And so it goes. So we have to, as we clear that and heal that, one, I believe we're healing many lifetimes, and we're probably healing all our ancestors as well. That gets more complex. But we are also, it's a necessary step if we're going to have a loving, harmonious planet. You can't do it without having emotionally healthy people. And it's very rare that anyone gets through being brought up on planet Earth right now without trauma.
Yeah.
So there's work. Everybody has work to do.
Yeah, it's a process. It's a journey, and also we just need to be how to say, like, hold the space for ourselves through that. If we need support, we ask for it and be kind to ourselves. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, so I would love if you can guide us now on the activation. It will be a great time.
I'll be happy to do it. One thing I want to say, like when I start off my own workshops, I always start off with what I call a centering meditation. And I'm not going to do that because it's kind of intrinsic in the meditation that I'm going to do. But the reason I want to speak into it a little bit is when people get centered and go into their heart, within a few minutes, they start activating this 5D frequency. So I guess the way I would put it out to you in the audience is to say, I'm going to be doing a breath induction before we get into more of the content, that the induction in and of itself only takes a few minutes. And yet it puts us in a very expanded, loving state where our frequency actually has been, our 5D frequency has been activated. So, because while it is definitely a challenging process, simultaneously, it's when we allow ourselves just to get into the simplicity of it, it's right there, if that makes sense, Okay. All right. So I'm asking that everybody close your eyes. And just let all your attention focus on your breathing so that you become very aware as you exhale, very aware as you inhale. On the exhale, releasing any concerns, releasing any distractions. If you have thoughts that seem to not want to leave you alone, you might want to imagine that there's a balloon hovering just above your head that you can give the thoughts to. And just for now, to let them float away, to just breathe them away. And on the inhale, begin to pull in a sense of calm. Begin to pull in a sense of centeredness and relaxation. Using the breath like a wave, pushing out the old stale energy. And drawing in new, clear energy. And as you're focusing on that exhale and the inhale, I'd like you to imagine that when you breathe in, you can breathe in tiny golden spirals of light. And this light is filled with love and consciousness. So on the inhale, you draw them in and you begin to notice that they move to every cell in your body. They disperse to every cell in your body, soothing and awakening these cells at the same time. Perhaps you'll notice as well that there's a softening around your heart. It feels more open. It feels deeply relaxed and filled with this beautiful feeling that we call love. And now I'd like you to imagine that you're on a beautiful, private, pristine beach with very white sands, blue, perhaps turquoise type of ocean. Maybe it's a beach you've been to or a beach that you create in your imagination. And I'd like you to imagine that you can feel the sand. It's a bit cool, but you can feel it move under your feet. You can hear the waves as they're crashing onto the shore. You can look out at the beauty of the horizon. The sky is a brilliant blue. The sun is warming your hair and skin. You inhale the scent of the water. Perhaps put your feet in it, hands if you want to jump in for a while. Whatever feels good to you to help you become fully and completely present on this beautiful, pristine beach. You can hear the birds and see them flying. Drink in the beautiful colors and shapes. Now I'd like you to go back on shore, and you have a beautiful blanket or comfortable towel, or maybe some people actually want to have a flat lawn or beach chair that you can lie down on. But find a way to lie down comfortably, knowing you're protected from the sun. You can feel the sun. It's shining on you, but it won't damage your skin. And just close your eyes and let yourself begin to sink into the warmth of the sun. And there's a cool breeze, so the temperature is exactly right. You're listening to the sounds, hearing the rhythmic sounds of the waves, the birds cawing and calling to one another. You notice the fragrances, and you can feel the energy of the ocean. And as you stretch out, perhaps if you're actually on the ground itself, you begin to feel how Mother Earth is supporting you. You can feel her support your back. You can feel her energy and her power and her wisdom. Just begin to allow that all to seep into you. Let this all soak into your cells, Perhaps you'll also feel warmth and a sense of consciousness rising up from the very heart of the earth. African shaman Credo Mutwa talks about the golden pyramid in the very center of the iron crystal core of the earth. And that too is being activated. And so the warmth and the rays of the sun begin to filter into you, down all around your skin. And Mother Earth, the wisdom that she's carrying within, begins to filter up. So you begin to feel both the wisdom of the earth, the wisdom of the stars, activating every cell in your body. And just soak this in. You may notice that you're feeling more and more spacious. Now I'd like you to imagine that every cell in your body has a teeny solar panel. And as you lie on this pristine beach and every cell in your body is being energized, you can feel them activated by the photons being drawn in from the solar panel, the light filled with higher consciousness coming from our sun. Again, you begin to feel even more spacious. You might feel so spacious that it feels like your energy field is taking up the entire beach, maybe even the entire planet. Just let that happen. There's plenty of space for all of us. And then let yourself luxuriate in the feeling. And just realize that these photons from the sun and the energy waves from the earth are now coursing gently through your body and activating new areas of your DNA that have been dormant for a very, very long time. Begin to sense that you're experiencing the world differently. You're experiencing it from the perspective of your 5D self. You're looking at it through your 5D eyes. And just take a moment and send the 3D part of yourself that's within you now love and acceptance and appreciation for their journey. And then bring yourself back into the awareness of all these vibrating cells. Might feel like you're getting a cellular massage. And you find yourself in a state of remarkable ease. And just drop into the feeling. Notice how expanded your heart feels, as well as all your cells. And keep surrendering to this. Perhaps send that loving energy out and about around the globe to special ones in your life if you want. Imagine if all humans were emitting this loving energy. Just begin to feel what that would be like. And as you're lying there on this very safe, private beach, you see that the sun is beginning to set. You continue lying there as the sky darkens and as the stars begin to show themselves. And for some of you, as those stars show, as constellations begin to form before your eyes, you'll feel an affinity, an ancient call. For some, it will be a sense of home, And it may be that you'll even pull in a guide from that star or star system that's drawing you. And if you do, welcome the guide. And perhaps ask that guide how you can stay connected in your waking life. And also, if they have a message for you, and just take a moment and dialogue with that guide. Part of the guidance you may be getting is about your own unique contribution, your own divine uniqueness. So feel it, listen to it, see it. Now, in your mind's eye, I want you to see that you're part of this 5D global team. That your purpose connects with the purpose of so many others of us. And this is a team open to anyone whose heart is open and who wants to come and share their contribution. So send love and appreciation to your teammates. And if you're unclear about your role, that's okay. Just ask that it become more and more clear for you as time goes on. Your cells are holding the wisdom of what you're here to do. Now take a few more minutes and just imagine going back into your day-to-day life, holding this 5D frequency, seeing out of your 5D eyes. And notice what that's like for you, how it feels, how it sounds, how it looks. And just see yourself spreading love and joy wherever you go on the planet. And so whenever this feels complete, I want you to slowly imagine on the beach that you're sitting up. You thank the ocean and Mother Earth. You thank Father Sky for all the support. And as you're ready, slowly leave the beach and bring yourself back to wherever you're sitting or lying down. Noticing the sounds in the room or outside your room. You might want to wiggle your fingers and toes. And simultaneously, see yourself emitting all that beautiful 5D energy into your room and then out into the world when you're ready to do that. And so it is. So I know it's not easy to come back from that. I hope people don't do this while they're driving.
Yeah, that was very, very relaxing. And yeah, also I was imagining like experience on the beach I had earlier this year. It was really relaxing. So that's really helped. Yeah, I really love the energy and that connection, heart connection. with everything and everyone. And like you said, like having that on our, like using that energy in our day-to-day life, it really can help us, like we said earlier, shifting our perspective about maybe if we have a challenge from difficult to just an experience like the others that we are going through.
Absolutely. And you know, people feel it. If you're emitting that energy and you walk into a room, people will feel it. They may not know what they're feeling, but it spreads.
Yeah.
They'll start feeling a little better.
Yeah.
The energy in the room will lighten. You know, we used to, way back in the 60s, talk about good vibrations. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we will start taking questions in a little bit. So everyone, if you are on Zoom app, you can raise your hand there. I guess there is, but there is, I think, a button, or you click on more to raise your hand, or you can write your question on the chat. And also, if you are watching the video on the webcast page, you can type in your questions on the question box. So Judith, like the time to receive questions, I would love if you can tell us about the program that you are offering to our audience, which has 3 parts. And yeah, I invite everyone to visit the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, JUDITH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the webcast page or on the replay page. So the program has a course and also like two programs plus one-on-one private session with you. So I'd love if you can tell us more about those.
Okay, well, the 10-week Zoom course is on the book. I call it Connecting Star Consciousness with Earth Consciousness. And while we go through it chapter by chapter on the book, it's still quite, you'll still get a lot more than just the book because of the whole dynamic of it. It's an hour and a half per class. And I'll spend a little time teaching, and then we'll do a deep meditation. And then we'll do a lot of processing where people get to share. But the last class of the 10 is my very favorite, because in class 9, I have people begin to visualize what they would bring to New Earth, what their unique contribution is. I have had people in the health professions that think of incredible healing kinds of things, environmental people that see certain things going on the land, that kind of thing. And so at the last class, everybody shares their vision, and we create this amazing planet together. So I have to say that's probably my very favorite, because everybody's activated and everybody actually is connected to their unique piece of it and feels the interconnection. And then we activate it so it'll show up in real life, in 3D life. So that's the 10-week course, and that starts again in mid-November. We do skip the week of Christmas, and the classes are recorded. So if people can't get there live, they will get recordings on it. Then my other course is Empowering the Spirit. And that's actually connected more with the last book I wrote. Activating is the most recent book. Empowering the Spirit is, it takes you through a process as well. While I don't talk about 5D, and I don't talk too much about multidimensionality, although I do a little, because when I wrote the book, I didn't know as much as I do now. The course is something that you work on by yourself. You have access to the course. Once you get in there, you can do it in your own time. Every class has 3 exercises, and they're both written out and recorded, an audio recording. And there's a lot of journaling involved, so that people are actually taken through a process to begin to activate their soul potentials. So, depending where you are in your process, One of the things I love about that class, and I've taken the class myself, which is an interesting experience because I designed it, but it works. Okay. So it helps, we have all these blocks, typically fears and doubts about really stepping fully into purpose. So that course allows people to go through a process to really transform those, so that they're freer and more empowered to put that soul purpose out in the world. And then the third option is a private session. And I do look at astrological charts. I'm not a professional astrologer, but I've studied it for many years. And so, I look at it and I look at what the person's probably going through. I like current transits. And we may or may not use some cards depending on where I feel led in the session. But mainly I would help people identify, if we do just a one-shot session, help people identify what was sort of the growth that's up for them, what it is that it's triggering, what healing may need to occur in order for the growth to be, in full bloom, so to speak, and begin to transform some of those limited beliefs about ourselves or about the world that's been holding us back. So that's primarily what you get.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love that because having that clarity, it really it brings us we know more about the path that we need to walk to be able to connect deeply to ourselves or to release that's density from us, because many times it's we experience challenges but we don't know the origin, the source of it, and it becomes automatic, and so yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the other piece that happens, Monsaf, and again, this is why as a therapist, I sort of can bring another piece to this, is that when we go through a growth spurt, a lot of times those old patterns, the old ones that we maybe have worked a lot on and done a lot of healing with, pop up again. And maybe they pop up in a little different form. And that tends to throw people off. People think, oh, am I doing something wrong? But it's just part of the process.
Right.
So being conscious of how to break through that yet again.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Judith. Very grateful to you for offering the private session and also the two programs to our audience, and bringing all these supports to support their path, their ascension path. And so yeah, again, everyone, I really recommend that you sign up for these programs, and you will find the package A, which is the live course connecting star consciousness with earth consciousness. It's 10 live parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then package B, you will have the Empowering the Spirit program, which is online also, and the package C, it's the 1 hour or 60 minutes individual session, one-on-one session with Judith. And the link again is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, JUDITH. Or also you can click on the special offer button, which is on the webcast page or on the replay page. And also you are offering a free gift. So there is the link there on the page. And when you click on the link, you will have a pop-up window. It's there where you can get the free gift. So Judith, would you like to share maybe a little bit about that also?
Yes. When you go to, well, I guess you have it linked in such a way that's way beyond my understanding myself. I'm glad you can do all that. But yes, there will be a pop-up on my website where you can subscribe to my newsletter and kind of weekly inspiration kinds of things. And when you do that, you will get a free downloadable meditation on sacred contracts, on your soul contract. So that's something, you can download and really keep listening to if that's what people should choose to do. So
yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Judith. And so yeah, again, everyone, you will find both the offer and the gift links on whether on the webcast page or on the replay page. And let's take questions. So again, everyone, if you are on the Zoom app, you can either type in your questions on the chat box or raise your hand. If you don't find how to raise your hand, you can maybe unmute yourself and I will see you there in the box. And also, if you are watching on the webcast page, you can type in your questions on the question box. So let's see, we have Tina. She wrote, magnificent, so beautiful, felt the love, really needed this today. As I shared yesterday, taking care of my boyfriend and his pain has been a 10 today, and many emotions come up watching him in this energy. During the meditation, I have lots of energy on my hands. Wonder if this is another form of my abilities or just myself.
It sounds like definitely healing coming through your hands. Tina, I couldn't see the.
Yes, Tina.
So absolutely. And, one thing, because when we activate more of that 5D frequency, we become more empathic. So it's tricky when we're taking care of a loved one who's in pain to kind of know how to boundary in a way that we don't overwhelm ourselves with their pain, but we still can keep our sense of love, compassion open. But I think that's wonderful that you began to feel that in your hands. And I absolutely encourage you to try that out. It won't do any harm, and it may well do a lot of good.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Judith. And thank you, Tina. Let's see, we have Nikki on the webcast. She wrote, how the people that had been brainwashed to hate our countries, cultures, and our neighbors through division of religions, races, etc., will adjust to higher dimensions. Thanks.
Well, you can't get there unless your heart's open. And as the heart opens, the old programming begins to fall away. So and not everybody is ready. Truly, I feel like those of us that are actively working with this energy right now are predecessors. We're doing this a bit ahead of the game to ideally help lift the frequency on the planet. And in my experience, when people come out of a place of hatred or projecting hatred onto another, their heart, one, you can't do that with an open heart. It's just, you could do it intellectually, but if your heart's open, you can't go, oh, well, I love this person in religion and I don't love that one. So that if you're coming from an open heart, your frequency raises and your attachment to those ideas begins to release. Okay, you become more open, because some of that is just pure, for lack of a better word, ignorance. People haven't known people from other cultures, other races. They're very stuck in their own little box, and so they haven't been exposed. Yeah. And that when they're exposed, then they go, oh, well, they're just same as I am. They just have a different way of looking at things. That shifts things. Or if you have people very entrenched in holding on to that ego, because when we hate another culture, it's a way of not dealing with how we're feeling about ourselves.
Right.
So, but what I found is that when you shine light and love on someone, one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to open up and begin their journey, or they're going to go away because they can't tolerate You know, if people are really entrenched and hanging on to that sort of darkness, then they're just going to move away into wherever, I don't know where, but it can get to the point where they will no longer be able to do harm. And, you know, what I don't know, perhaps some people are getting those downloads and know more, that certainly. But it is possible, and it's already happening, that we're living in two different worlds. Mm-hmm. That as we open up these frequencies, one of the things that happens is people's lives get better. And it doesn't mean they don't go through challenges, but as you said, Monsef, you know, it's you look at it differently, and you look at it more as opportunity, and you don't suffer. You don't go through the suffering in the same way. And as that happens, your energy is such that it magnetizes better and better things typically to you. You know, there's journeys people have to go through, sometimes with illness or things like that. But in general, as we activate this higher loving frequency, our world shifts. And while that's open to everybody, if people aren't there yet, it may be that we're sort of going to be existing on the planet, but not necessarily interacting much anymore with each other as part of the shift. And again, that's just a guess. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's I just say because sometimes like when we try to see different things differently, we have like bigger perspective, become more open. We try also to get others to the same point, but sometimes it's not our job to guide them through that. We need to accept that, because we feel also that's like a savior or something, but we just need to allow them to have their own experience.
Yeah, that's really important, and it's really hard especially if it's someone that you love very much. But it's true. This has to come from within each of us. Exactly. We can create a frequency, but it's up to every individual what they want to do with that, if they want to step into it or not.
Yeah.
And it's scary for people. It's a whole new way of being, even though it feels great.
Yeah, especially if maybe they've been in like one culture, one belief system throughout all their life. So it's very difficult, because for them it's just this is the right way and the only way. So it's and also sometimes it's scary to integrate with others. There's always they keep space between them, but yeah, because in the end, like especially maybe traveling can also help, because we discover that's the same exact thing. It's seen totally different from one culture to the other. It's just that these are like belief system has been created with time, and people they believed in that. It's yeah.
And in the United States, which was shocking when I first heard it, only 1 or 2% of the population have passports. There's very little international travel that goes on with Americans. And I do think that's been a huge deficit in this country. And I was pretty shocked when I heard it, but that's part of the issue. People haven't been exposed. They don't understand. And they are very easily manipulated into beliefs that aren't true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just being in love, embracing love, and sharing love, and accepting all the all the aspects of life, and bringing more light. So yeah, wonderful. Tina shared, yes, I am doing my best to let Mike just have his own experience, just giving him ideas and loving him along the way.
Yes, beautifully put. And that's that's the best we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Let's check more questions. Yeah, so we have a question from Karen. Hi, Judith. I am very empathic, and I've been on a spiritual journey for many years. Unfortunately, when I feel strong negative feelings from others, I cannot stop it, making me feel ill and pain, even with protection methods. I had a healing business for a short time and had to give it up as I was feeling people's symptoms. Any advice, please? I've been on sickness benefits for 7 years now. Her age is 58. Thank you and blessings.
Okay, that is a really challenge. That's a big challenge. And everybody does it differently. There are lots of wonderful books and techniques out there. And it sounds like you know that. I'm sorry, I forgot the woman's name who asked the question.
Karen.
Karen.
Yes.
A dear friend of mine wrote a book called The Evolutionary Empath by Stephanie Redfeather. And if you haven't gotten that, I would encourage you to do that. She also has classes and sessions to help empaths. The other piece that's really important, and again, you may well have already journeyed into this one, Karen, but part of being able to protect ourselves from taking on others' pain is to make sure we've cleared our own trauma enough that it doesn't unconsciously activate our own pain. And, you know, that's a deep process. It's not a simple process, but it's an important one. So there may be some trauma that other people's pain hooks into. Another possibility is that, you know, we have a belief system that if somebody's suffering, we need to feel it. And we sort of believe it helps them, even though we know it doesn't. So, you know, while you're absorbing that pain, I would look more deeply about that. If you have, again, I don't know how many of these things you've already done, but I would encourage you to look in those areas to see what it is that I'm going to use the word motivate. It's not a good word here, but that you're soaking this in. I will also say this is a big challenge, and some people can do it with some ease and some people can't. It may be a wiring issue. I mean, I know empaths, you know, high level empaths that are consistently having to deal with this and keep clearing and maybe taking breaks, those kinds of things. So I wish I had a real simple answer for you, but I don't, except to say that this gift is not to make you suffer. And I know that you know that on some level. This gift is to be of service, to be of help. So looking more deeply at whatever has trained you or whatever beliefs you may be carrying that make it hard to separate from somebody else's suffering while you're experiencing what they're going through. So that's the best I can do on that one. And I wish you a lot of luck. I know that's not an easy journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Judith. And thank you, Karen, for your question. Much love. And yeah, so Judith, thank you so much for the time spent with us, all this inspiration. And it was really, really amazing call. I really loved it. And also thank you for the guidance you offered to our audience, so to our callers. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Monsef. I've enjoyed it so much. And it's so nice to get to meet you. And I'm so glad you're doing this for the world. So
yeah, thank you.
We all thank you for that too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Judith. And also thank you everyone for joining us today live, whether live or on the replay, and for sharing with us your beautiful energies, co-creating with us this experience. And also, again, I highly recommend that you join the programs that Judith put together for us. And again, the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Judith, JUDITH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the webcast page, or on the replay page. And you will find 3 packages. The first one includes Connecting Star Consciousness with Earth Consciousness course, which is a 10-part live course. And package B includes Empowering the Spirit online program. And the package C include 1 hour one-on-one private session with Judith. And also you can get her free gifts. There's the link for that also on the webcast page and on the replay page. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.